Yes, today we're looking at 9 rare cars AMC built but never released, including that small van you see on screen. No, it's not fake, it actually existed, and it's just one of the 9 weird cars you'll see in this video. Now let's get started. Meet the 1965 AMC Vixen, a concept car that never made it to production, but definitely made an impression. Designed by Dick Teague, the Vixen loosely hinted at what would later become the 1970 AMC Hornet. So think of it as a stylish warm-up lap. The Vixen took the whole long hood, short deck idea and ran with it. It borrowed from the Cavalier design principle, then added a semi-fastback twist, just to make sure nobody called it boring. Up front, you've got a grille with a quad Venturi vibe. The rectangular headlights are tucked way back in, giving the car a face, like it's sizing you up before blowing past you. Then there's the hood. Not just cool, but sporting a functional air intake blister. Because nothing says I mean business like a blister that does actual work. Now check out the roof. AMC gave it a row of vents angled at 45 degrees. They were meant to help when backing up or parking. And the rear window? Recessed, concave, and apparently invisible. Not in the futuristic stealth tech sense, but in a way that black paint, deep curves, and clever angles tricked your eyes into thinking it wasn't there at all. The rest of the car was finished in bright sun yellow paint, which probably didn't help with the whole invisible theme, but did make it impossible to ignore. Before the AMX hit the streets in 1968, it started as something a bit more experimental and a whole lot more Italian. Meet the 1966 AMC Vignale AMX Prototype, the concept that kicked things off. It all started back in 1965 when AMC's design team, led by Chuck Mashigan and Richard Teague, decided to create a 2-seater sports coupe with serious attitude. Teague was the one who pushed for the name AMX, and it stuck. The Vignale was part of AMC's Project 4, a series of idea cars built to test out bold new designs. Out of the 4 concepts shown in private previews, the Vignale AMX was the clear favorite. The original prototype was fiberglass and didn't even have an engine, but that didn't last long. AMC handed things over to Italian coach builder Vignale, who cranked out a steel-bodied version in just under 90 days. Now it looked fast and could actually move. It had a 290 cubic inch Typhoon V8 hidden A-pillars and a cantilever roof with a built-in roll bar. There was even a ramble seat tucked in the back and a contoured rear seat that folded down, because apparently AMC thought you might need both a muscle car and a conversation pit in one vehicle. With a 98-inch wheelbase, the size wasn't far off from the final production model, and while the Vignale didn't make it to dealerships, it helped shape what the AMX would become, a car that went from show floor to racetrack and still gets plenty of love today. In 1967, AMC built a box, put batteries in it, and called it the Amitron. This little electric concept car was a joint effort between American Motors and Galton Industries. At just 85 inches long and weighing only 1,100 pounds, the Amitron was smaller than most shopping carts, but aimed squarely at city driving. It seated 3 people, and it looked like, well, let's be honest, it was weird. AMC didn't mess around with adapting an existing car. They started from scratch. The Amitron came packed with experimental ideas, the biggest one being its battery system. It used a mix of nickel-cadmium and lithium batteries to achieve what was, for the time, a jaw-dropping range of up to 150 miles at 50 miles per hour. That kind of performance in the 1960s made most other electric cars look like lawn equipment. Acceleration wasn't exactly neck-snapping, 0 to 50 in 20 seconds, but the clever part was how it got there. The nickel-cadmium batteries handled the launch, then the lithium pack took over for cruising. It even had regenerative braking, which turned the motors into generators when slowing down, feeding power back into the batteries. AMC was the first U.S. automaker to use that system. It's the same idea that ended up decades later in hybrids from Toyota, Ford, and General Motors. The Amitron had a solid-state control unit to manage power, seats with air-filled cushions instead of foam, and a body designed to keep weight, wind drag, and rolling resistance to a minimum. In other words, it was trying to solve every problem electric cars had at the time, all at once. AMC planned to have it on the road by 1972 and even teased the idea to its bankers, who apparently weren't quite sold on it. The cost of the batteries alone ended up being a deal breaker, and the project was shelved. The Amitron made one last appearance in 1977, repainted and renamed the Electron for the Chicago Auto Show. The 1968 AMX-GT was a concept that showed what happens when you take a regular car and start cutting corners, literally. Built by chopping the roof, shortening the wheelbase to 97 inches, and trimming the tail, the AMX-GT was basically a beefed-up two-door coupe version of the Javelin. Richard Teague, AMC's design guru, was behind the look. When it debuted at the New York Auto Show, it wore a striking red paint job with a white stripe stretching across the sides and over the roof. It had plain flush wheel covers, side-mounted exhaust, a ram air hood scoop, and a roof spoiler, all adding to its sporty vibe. The fixed rear side windows had no B-pillar, giving it that clean, pillarless coupe look. Soon after, the wheels got an upgrade to 5-spoke alloys wrapped in Goodyear white leather tires, and the hood and roof switched to a dark blue paint that followed the car's main lines. This two-tone color scheme made its way to some early AMC race cars before the company switched to their iconic red, white, and blue stripes. The AMX-GT hinted at some real gear to come. Side pipes showed up as options on 1969 Javelins and AMX, and the hood scoop inspired the 1970 Go package option. The flat black shadow mask paint from the concept also became a production choice for 1970 AMXs. Even the shortened tail treatment resurfaced later on the 1970 Gremlin subcompact. This car was a perfect example of Richard Teague's knack for squeezing fresh designs out of what AMC already had, maximizing style without blowing the budget. It even made an appearance in AMC's 1969 annual report, with executives posing alongside the concept's second version sporting a blacked-out hood and roof. Next on the list we have the 1969 AMC AMX-II. Designed by Dick Teague and built with help from Italian design firm Ital Design, this mid-engine two-seater was AMC's vision for a next-level sports car. Under the hood sat a beefy 390 cubic inch V8 engine, pushing out around 340 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. Matched to a 4-speed manual, this combo promised muscle and precision, with power-assisted disc brakes and a limited slip differential to keep things in check. Its body, with gull-wing doors and aerodynamic lines, definitely turned heads. The car measured 171.5 inches long, just 42 inches tall, and rode on a 104-inch wheelbase. Low to the ground at 5.5 inches clearance, it was built for nimble handling, thanks to its independent double wishbone front suspension and semi-trailing arm rear setup. Despite its futuristic style and powerful specs, the AMX-II never made it past the prototype stage. Only 2 were ever built. One now sits in the Kenosha History Center, and the other is in private hands. With a top speed around 165 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time under 6 seconds, this was no casual cruiser. Before disappearing in the late 80s, AMC took one last wild swing at glory and landed something genuinely unique. The AMX-III was a mid-engine sports car, like several others we're seeing in this video, styled by Dick Teague, engineered with help from none other than Giotto Bizzarini, and hand-built in Italy by Vignale. Not exactly your typical muscle car lineage. It debuted at the 1970 Chicago Auto Show and looked like it came straight out of Italy, because it basically did. Power came from a 390 cubic inch AMC V8 paired with a 4-speed manual. When tested at Monza, it actually beat its projected top speed of 160 miles per hour, thanks to Teague's aerodynamic design and Bizzarini's suspension setup, which combined AMC parts with serious Italian engineering. Unfortunately, bumper regulations and AMC's financial problems pulled the plug. Just 5 original cars were built, though some sources say it may have been 7. AMC had actually planned for 1,000 and even ordered 24 more test cars before it all fell apart. At number 7, it's the 1977 AMC AM van. And yes, when I showed it to you at the beginning of the video, I wasn't kidding. This thing actually existed. The AM van was AMC's flashy attempt to refresh its image at a time when the whole auto industry was under pressure. After the oil crisis, AMC chairman Roy Chapin Jr. wanted to prove that small didn't have to mean boring, and the AM van definitely made that point loud and clear. It was part of AMC's Concept-I tour, which hit 7 major cities and showed off 6 futuristic designs. Some were electric, some were Jeep-inspired, but the clear crowd favorite was this van, and it's easy to see why. Wide tires, flared fenders, side pipes, a deep front air dam, and just the right touch of turbo badging. It had the look nailed, even if nothing on it actually worked. Because truth be told, the AM van was never a real runner. It was a wood-framed, fiberglass-bodied mock-up with no drivetrain, non-functional doors, and a half-finished interior hidden behind tinted windows. But the thinking behind it was sharp. 3 across seating, a roomy cabin with a huge greenhouse for visibility, and plans for 4-wheel drive. The next 2 and final cars on the list fall into the same category. They were both early experiments with the Gremlin platform, and honestly, there isn't much information available about either one, but they're still worth a mention. At number 8, it's the 1977 AMC Concept-I. This was the first in a series of 3 subcompact design studies based on the Gremlin. It had side quarter windows to improve visibility, squared headlights, and a Continental tire bulge at the rear, a bit of a styling twist that gave it a different look from the base car. And at number 9, we've got the 1977 AMC Concept-II. Like the Concept-I, it was based on the Gremlin, but this version came with hideaway headlights and a stronger roof design, using a central Targa band built into its structure. The information in this video was gathered from the sources shown on screen. As always, you can find the sources in the Google Doc linked in the description. I recommend checking them out for more details. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and click on the recommended video that appears on the screen. It's all about 10 rare cars Chevrolet built but never released, including forgotten ones like the Corvair, Monza GT, and the Astra 1. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.